Welcome to the I Give Life to Life podcast with yours truly, Coach Enrgy, the single parent's life coach. Thank you so much for tuning into this particular episode. Today we are talking about thinking before acting, or you may have also heard it stated as think before you act. Ultimately, it's all about just taking that moment to pause before responding to whatever situation that is in front of you, or just not responding based off of your emotions. You will hear me use something that I say all the time, something that I've written on my online content. I've stated it in any of my coaching sessions, and I put it on my social media pages, #pause. And it's because that's one of the most simplest tools that us as individuals that we can use and implement anytime that we are dealing with ourselves, with life, or especially in relationships, anytime that we are having to interact with another human being, whether it be in our personal lives or our professional lives. And I'll break that down later into this episode. But I definitely do want to just kind of point that out right now, that it's something that I'm very passionate about. I think that will be that's not my number. What am I trying to say? That's probably my number 2 favorite word after my number 1 favorite word, which is understand, or being understanding. So yeah, #pause is something that has definitely helped me in my life, and it has helped those other people whom I've been able to coach or just talk to, just have a basic conversation with. It's just one of those simple reminders and a tool that we can use in order to just help us make those changes, help us adjust how life has been going, So I'm super excited about this episode today. The way that I'm going to do this, I'll just break down a few of the main points. I'm going to do my best to keep it short. So let's jump right into the first one. The first one says, don't let your emotions take lead. I've been there. I've been there in my past. I'm still there as far as how that opportunity presents itself constantly in life in general, whether it be my personal life or my professional life. Just being a human and dealing with other people and their personalities, other people and their responses, their actions, their choices, the decisions that they make, it can affect us, and it will affect us to some degree. And often our emotions attempt to take lead. Depending on how you were raised, depending on your upbringing, your emotions may have often dictated the decisions that you make, and your emotions may have often determined, or let me say it this way, your emotions may have led you up to this point in your life right now, especially if you are dealing with a lot of turmoil or dealing with a lot of anger, or just, it just seems like a lot of mess is around you, or your life, is filled with a lot of ups and downs, a lot of roller coaster moments. And that can be directly affected by if you are allowing your emotions to take lead. And the way that our emotions take lead is if we don't take that moment, that initial second, those initial, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long it takes you to be able to formulate a sound decision, a sound thought before responding or before acting, however long it takes, your emotions take lead whenever you don't implement that #pause in a given situation. So as I was saying, I've been there to where my emotions took the lead. And I can guarantee you that in those situations and at those times, the emotions did not make the best choice. And so, of course, consequences came behind that, or things that I may have regretted later after my emotions calmed down, after my emotions were back at level 0, at their ground level. So, but it definitely did take work. The first thing that I needed to do was to just acknowledge the fact that, oh my gosh, like I'm just responding. I'm just being reactive. And I did not want that. I didn't like the outcome of either how I made another person feel or how it made me feel after I may have done something or may have said something. And so if you find that your life has been filled with a lot of up and down moments, or again, that roller coaster type of situation or lifestyle, a roller coaster type of lifestyle, a lot of it can be due to the fact that you have been letting your emotions take lead. Have you? Ask yourself that question. Pause right now and think and say, hey, has my, in this particular situation, did my emotions, did they take lead? Did I allow my emotions to dictate my response in this particular situation or in this particular conversation? Think about that and then come back and hit play. So the next point that I want to talk about is it ties into it, of course. It says, don't be reactive. So you don't want to just be so reactive, like as soon as something happens, boom, you just immediately respond, as opposed to allowing time, again, taking that pause break, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, taking that pause break to not just react, but to allow yourself to go through the thoughts and go through all the different outcome possibilities, all of the different consequences that could happen if you were to simply react. So don't be reactive. How do you learn to not be reactive? It takes some work, because especially if you're just used to being reactive, if you're used to just simply responding to a person based off of what they said, if you're used to just responding to a situation based off of what you're confronted with, then that can definitely it will take some time. I'll just tell you, like right now, it will take some time, and it will take some absolute work and effort and being intentional about your choices and your decisions anytime that you are faced with an opportunity or situation. I'll say it like that. Instead of saying an opportunity, well, we can continue to say opportunity, because it will be an opportunity for you to then implement the work. So yeah, let's just keep it like that. Opportunity. You will be presented with so many opportunities to where you're able to put this new practice into play. And the next one I want to talk about is be mindful of making a decision in the moment that could have long-lasting consequences. That's one of the things, if not the number one, but definitely at the top of the list for me, that helped me to say, you know what, I've got to figure something out. I've got to do better. I have to be better. And that point right there was the one that really had more weight. It's just being mindful about what are the long-lasting consequences that this situation will have, or that will come on me or against me, if I were to just keep on letting my emotions take lead, if I were to just keep on just being reactive, then what are all the different consequences? Consequences such as, hurting someone else's feelings, affecting your job, affecting your work situation with other coworkers or with your employer, affecting family situations, affecting a relationship where emotions and everything are involved. I'm actually getting ahead of myself, but I'll just keep going. Affecting if you're a parent, affecting your parenting relationship between you and your child or your children, if you're just always just a responder, a reactor. So what, for me, again, it was the long-lasting consequences that had me say, you know what, that's important enough for me to want to change. That's important enough for me to want to put in the work, put in the effort, and be intentional about thinking before acting. So yeah, like I said, I got a little bit ahead of myself, but it's perfect timing. We can go right into it. In addition to actions, as far as verbal actions, things like that, verbal responses, and then actual physical actions, this topic goes along with, what about when you're texting someone? When someone is texting you and based off of something that they may have said, your immediate response is, if it's a reactive response, you may say something wrong that you may regret later in that text message because you didn't pause and you did not think before you acted, or you did not think before you sent that text back. So it goes in this situation as well. What about whenever you're driving in your vehicle and having that road rage moment? Feeling that sense of road rage. That happens a lot because people do not think before they act. They don't think about the situation and definitely the consequences of a situation if they allow themselves to get into a situation involving road rage. If they allow their emotions to just take over that split second of someone cutting them off, or that in that moment of a driver that may be in front of them that's driving slow, and then they just respond and they just act and react. Not thinking before acting affects that situation as well. Even at work, let's go back to the professional portion. Even at work, emails. You may get an email from your boss, your supervisor, or another coworker, or whatever, or a client. And you may not like what they may have said. They may have said something that can be taken sideways. However, your response to it, if you don't think before you act, you may respond right back, being within the emotions that you have, within the emotions that you initially felt when you first read that email. And so you really want to be mindful of implementing the #pause tool guide when it's involving you even sending emails, or when you're on the phone and you're having a conversation with a client or a friend, family, child. Now we're speaking about children. Let's talk about this. As a parent, when it's time to discipline your kids, are you a parent that just responds in the moment? If one of your children, or if your child spills their food, spills their cup of juice, if they write on something with a crayon or a pen that did not need to be written on, a wall, your paper, something that was important for you, for work, for business. What if any of those situations happen and as a parent you decide to discipline? Are you disciplining just basically reacting without taking that moment to just #pause before you lay down the law, so to speak, with your child? Or even so that was an example of if your child was much younger, toddler age. But what about if your child is more teenage, in the teenage years, preteen, 16, 17, 18. And, they do something, they may say something, whether it be with, a boy or a girl, something with their schoolwork or their homework, whatever the case is. Or even if they are just, giving you attitude at home, or if they didn't clean their room, or if they didn't clean the house when you told them to have the house cleaned by. So are you just are you the type of parent who just simply reacts and not think before you act? That can be very detrimental to, not even going to say can be, with a lot of the parenting relationships, the child-parent relationships in a lot of the households now. A lot of it is the issues. A lot of the issues are due to the parent lacking that patience, lacking that ability to take those first 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds to just kind of get their thoughts together in order to make sure that they are not about to respond out of that emotion that they may be feeling in that moment, whether it be anger, disappointment, whatever it is. So no matter what the situation is, life, relationships, personal or professional, we all have been affected by a situation at some point where we have the opportunity to either think before we act. We all have the opportunity to either do what's right or do what would be smarter, to think before we act. Or some of us took the other route and we just simply reacted. We just simply responded based off of whatever we felt right then and there in that moment. I want to give one more example before I close out. What about whenever you're dealing with an ex and there's children involved in this point, and now you're in a co-parenting situation? So in this particular example, it's now a parent-to-parent example of where your ex may have done something or said something that you did not like, that you did not appreciate. How do you usually respond? Do you usually take the time to allow things to settle before you respond out of that particular emotion and before an argument arises? So yeah, that was the last example that I absolutely had to put in there. Again, just to try to cover the board of what people can, the different situations that so many people have or will be exposed to or find themselves in. And I wanted to, make sure that I show how none of us are exempt from this being a reality. So thinking before acting is something that we all can take advantage of. And part of that is just simply pausing. And that's why I always say to anyone that I come into contact with or interact with, and it's a situation or a conversation that where it fits, I will always just use that one word, pause, #pause. And to, just get people to help people remember that one little thing, that one little word, anytime that they are faced with a possible emotional situation. So, something that I want you guys to do, or to at least consider, is find other ways to where you can release and release regularly. Because a lot of the time a lot of what's behind a person just being so reactive is because they're holding on to so much stuff that has been building up. They're holding on to this pent up anger and these pent up emotions, to where situations that happen, it's just like, wow, like that was a little overreactive. You overreacted in this particular situation. It did not warrant this type of response that you gave. But a lot of it is, again, because people don't have an outlet to release on a regular basis. And so that's one of the things that I want you guys to consider and to think about is find what do you have a way or a method or something to help you release the stress that can build up, to release the frustrations that can build up over time. And if you don't, think of some ways that you can release regularly. So, if some of the few common examples would be exercising, whether it just be simply going out for a walk outside your house or outside the job, getting some fresh air, getting outside of the four walls, or actually taking a jog. If you're more into running, go jogging. Listening to music, playing an instrument, There's so many different ways. Drawing, coloring. Hey, don't sleep on coloring. Doing puzzles, meditating, whatever floats your boat, whatever fits you, and something that really relaxes you, something that takes your mind off of the stresses of life. Think about that. And do us all a favor, you guys. If you can, go ahead and put in the chat below or in the comments section below, what are some ways that you release, or give other people examples of how they can release. In addition to what I've already said, what are some other examples in order to help people just start to really think about, oh, okay, you know what, I could do that. Or I really do enjoy this, and this does help me relax. Or I can really take my mind off of work whenever I do this other thing over here. So put the comments below. Let me know, what are your ways to release on a regular basis? And make sure that whatever you do, you find a way to release on a regular basis. Release, again, to prevent things from building up to where you're no longer as reactive as you may have been before. And that's one of the first steps to really implementing this as a lifestyle change. Finding a way to release, and then finding what am I trying to say? Finding a way to release the stresses and frustrations that have been building up, and then finding something to replace what you used to do as far as just reacting, replacing it with something else. Hint could be #pause. Just utilizing that tool in any situation that you find yourself in moving forward. I literally will say to myself, anytime that I'm in a situation, I'll keep my mouth shut and just say, okay, pause. And then I'll allow myself to just kind of replay what happened, replay all the different options that I have as far as my response to what happened, and then determine, okay, what are going to be the consequences based off of each of those responses that I thought of, and then I can determine which one will suit me best. And sometimes it's a very fast process that I go through, the thought process, because I've been doing this now for a long time. I've been doing it for years at this point. So some situations is like, okay, boom, boom, boom. Okay, yeah, okay, so I'll just do this instead. But then there are other situations where I probably will need to take, okay, I'm not going to respond back to this particular email right now. Let me give it about 20 minutes. Let me let it marinate. Let me try to put myself in this other person's shoes to see where they could be coming from. Or this text message. Okay, let me take advantage of the fact that this is a text message and I don't have to respond immediately. So let me read it over 2 or 3 times and let me check myself to make sure that I'm not reading it in an emotional mindset. Let me take the emotions out of it and just look at the facts of the text, or look at the facts of the email and respond back with just the facts. And then that's when I can respond back. So it really just depends on the situation. And, I take as much time as I need per situation. So again, some are boom, immediate to where I already know what to do. I've been in this situation enough times. I've already had practice in this situation, and I know exactly what I should do and what I should not do. And then other times, again, I may need to take those extra 3, 5, or 10 seconds and say, hold on, let me get my thoughts together, because the first thing that came to mind is not going to be nice. So yeah, it affects everyone. It affects us all on different levels. So I have written a blog, or maybe a few blogs, that kind of talk about overcoming this type of situation, or thinking before you act, or not being responsive, or dealing with your anger and the emotions. I definitely have blogs on my website. You guys have to check them out. Make sure that you sign up for my newsletters. So my newsletters, basically, one of the main things is every time that I release a blog or publish a new blog, you will be emailed a copy of that blog to where you are able to get it directly in your inbox. So make sure you go to my website, coachenrgy.com. And Enrgy is spelled Nrgy, coachenrgy.com, and check out that website to where you can go to the blog section and you will see where you can subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe so you do not miss out on all of the content that I share. And I also share a lot of free resources as well if you are part of the email family. So you don't want to miss out. I definitely encourage you guys to go there, especially if you're dealing with any of the situations that I talk about on my channel: life, relationships, time management, productivity, you name it, personal or professional, whatever the case may be. But anyway, check it out, coachenrgy.com, and also make sure that you follow and subscribe on your favorite or preferred platform of where you are listening to my voice right now. I am available on all devices, such as the main two at least, Android and Apple. I am on Apple iTunes. Again, the name of the podcast is I Give Life to Life. And then I am also available on Google Android under their podcast, which is Google Podcasts. So make sure that you check it out, download, subscribe. So therefore, anytime that I upload a new podcast episode, you are notified as well. And while you're there, go ahead and give it a 5-star rating in order to help this channel grow. I definitely do appreciate it, you guys. And you already know what to do. Get the conversation started below. And always keep smiling.